All right, good evening, everyone. This is the WestCat meeting of July 11th. So shall we have a call to order, and shall we do roll call, please?
Tiffany Grimsley,
Present.
Jerry Parson,
Present.
Tom Hanson,
Here?
Dion Bailey,
Present.
Cameron Sasai is absent excused, Norma Martinez Rubin,
Here.
Heidi Swallow here.
All right, so we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any public communication? All right. Shall we approve the agenda?
So moved.
So motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone like to abstain? All right. The consent calendar. We have the consent calendar. Anybody interested in pulling anything, or are we all good? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make it.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone like to abstain? All right, that brings us to 2.1, items for board action, election of WestCat's board officers for FY 24-25. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you. So there
It
is a
says, yeah, 25, 26.
2526. So there is a short memo in the staff in the packet that just outlines the normal rotation. Normally, the tradition has been that the vice chair has moved into the chair position, and then as Director Hansen's the outgoing chair, the next representative as vice chair would normally in rotation be a member from the city of Pinole. So with that, I'll hand it back to the chair to see if there's any nominations.
And we start with the chair, correct? Nominate the chair.
Correct, yes.
Are there any nominations for chair?
I move to nominate Director Grimsley.
Second.
All right, motion. All those in favor? Oh, go ahead.
I just had a question. You mentioned this time it's going to be Hercules, correct?
Mhm.
And then you said the next time it's going to be Pinole?
Yeah,
Vice chair would traditionally be Pinole.
then it goes back to the county after that,
Okay,
on a 3 cycle.
gotcha. Thank you. It's been a while. And I was like, wait a minute, but Pinole had it last year.
Yeah, that's why I'm sitting here, yep. Yeah. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone like to abstain? All right, now for vice chair. Would they make the nomination for vice chair?
Did you say Pinole is next?
Yes.
Well, I will self-nominate
Okay,
as vice chair.
all right. Is there a second? All right.
I don't think you need to self-nominate. I think we can be better than that. I'll name it. I'll nominate you so that you don't have to self-nominate.
Thank you, Jerry.
You're welcome.
All
Is there
right.
a second?
There
I'll
was-
second.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You sure you want to do this? And any abstentions?
Oh, I'll serve.
All right, so that means now you're in charge.
And is it okay if I just ask something real quick? And the reason I ask is because, it doesn't matter, but it takes, I guess, a very long time for be it either Heidi or myself, or even you in the future, to get to that spot that we need that spot. So has that ever been looked at, though? It's like,
It's actually equitable because every jurisdiction gets their seat every 3 years. So you'd have to actually skip a city to get a county representative a seat out of turn. So the county.
I guess I'm thinking of it more of a service area versus a.
No, it's basically by,
Okay. And no
Because
big,
we're-
no big
we're-
deal. I just,
right, we're 3 joint powers, 3 different entities, Hercules, Pinole, and the county.
gotcha.
We just have more seats because we have more areas, but
Okay.
we're just 3 of us.
I want to make sure, for not necessarily me, I'm literally looking more towards Heidi, that she gets her opportunity was my concern. All right.
Does that mean that Gerald would never be on rotation then?
So what would happen was, when it comes up a couple of years, so it'll be Hercules for a year, the Pinole, then someone from county would be appointed. And that would be,
Countywide, you mean?
no, just for the 3 county seats. So then it would be decided between the three of us, basically, who wants to do it or who doesn't want to do it.
So get ready.
All right, well, thank you for the nomination and the election. I appreciate it. So we're moving on for agenda item 2.2, approval of WCCTA's disadvantaged business enterprise triennial goal for 2% for fiscal year 26 through 28.
I'm going to ask Tanya to present this item.
Did you hear me? Oh, there I am. Okay. So federal regulations require WestCat to implement a disadvantaged business enterprise program to ensure non-discrimination in the award of federally funded contracts. As part of the DBE program, we must establish a DBE triennial goal, and that is for participation in all contracts that are to be funded with federal funding. The goal represents a percentage of projected total federal transportation dollars that WestCat anticipates expending on contracts that we will award over the next 3-year period. So we try to meet the goal every year during the 3 years. WestCat's required to submit the DBE triennial goal by August 1st. For federal fiscal years 2026 to 2028, we anticipate using federal funds towards ADA operating assistance and towards the hydrogen fueling station project. There's procedures and a formula that we're required to calculate the DBE triennial goal, and the methodology is included in your board packet. So we've calculated the DBE triennial goal to be 2% based on the formula that we're required to follow. And we're requesting approval of our DBE triennial goal and authorization to submit the goal to the FTA by August 1st. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The question is, in practice, how does that 2% goal?
Met every year?
Yes, is it in the, I'm thinking it's not in number of contracts, but it's in a contract award amount?
So correct. So that is the overall goal, and it is a goal. So it's not a requirement to meet the 2%, but it is a goal for DBE participation. So it would be for every federally funded contract that we offer over the next 3 years. The goal is to get DBE participation on each of those contracts. Now with ADA operating assistance, there is no DBE potential contractor because that goes towards our existing contractor for operations. So all of the 2% goal will be associated with the hydrogen fueling station, and we anticipate that project to start next year, so it will cover 3 years of the goal. So I do not see really a problem with us hitting that 2% goal, so it is a potential that we will hit it every year.
So again, so I can I'd be clear on what it means in terms of implementing or meeting that goal, whether it's 2% or any other percentage. It's in the amount of a contract for a particular
The
to meet a
federal,
certain objective.
right, the federal funding spent towards DBEs on that particular contract.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any additional questions?
Yes, I spoke with our general manager earlier, but it's 2%, so we think we can hit that.
2%.
We can hit that number, right?
Yes, we have DBEs already lined up for our hydrogen fueling station. So that is what we're confident in meeting.
Great, and then I think, I understand that we have not had this number before. This is a high number for us, it sounds like.
It is. We've traditionally been 0% because most of our funding goes towards transit bus purchases, which is not included in the DBE goal. That's a separate calculation done by the transit bus manufacturers and ADA operating assistance, which there are no DBEs available for that contract. So traditionally, we've been a 0% goal. That's correct.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that we're making efforts.
We are. We're doing well.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are there any additional questions? Okay. Seeing none, well, there is a requested action. Do we need a motion on this? Okay, anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the WCCTA's disadvantaged business enterprise term goal of 2% for FY 26 through 28.
A second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item 3, committee reports. Item 3.1, general manager's report.
Thank you. So just a couple of items to update on that we talked about at the last meeting. One was I mentioned that the 6 East Bay, Alameda and Contra Costa bus operators were going to Sacramento because there'd been a request for an audit to be made, a state audit to be made. We were unsuccessful in talking the committee out of moving ahead with that audit, so don't have any details at this point other than the state will be auditing all 6 operators, looking at our finances, looking at where our routes go, our services, and everything about our services. And as that becomes underway, we'll kind of update the board. There were 13 audits on the committee's agenda to approve for the upcoming year. I believe they approved all 13 of them. So state auditor has quite a lot of work on their hands. So all we've got is a letter saying we will be in touch when we plan to kick off on this work. Other update is on SB 63, which is the bill to put on associated with the language to allow the region to put a regional measure on the ballot in November 2026. Again, it's an item we've brought a number of times to the board. The item did go to it's now passed the Senate. And it's in the Assembly. It was heard at the Assembly Transportation Commission on Monday afternoon, which is chaired by Assemblywoman Laurie Wilson. And she had requested an amendment that actually names ourselves, LAVTA, County Connection, Tri-Delta, in the bill. So that was approved and that was accepted by the authors of the bill, which is a good step, we think. The amendment also reduced the amount that was associated or being approved for MTC from 10% down to 5%, which that's where it stands right now, and that's money that would be used for some of the regional initiatives throughout the region. The one item that still hasn't been finalised, and is the reason why Assemblywoman Wilson has requested that this goes back before her committee, before it goes to the full vote, is the actual expenditure plan. So although we're named in the bill, there's no actual dollar amount or percentage-wise associated with that yet. That's still a work in progress. I mean, we had a meetings yesterday about that, and we had conversation this morning with Tim Hale, Sue Nowak, who are both heavily involved in those discussions. So I think small operators are well placed to be named in the bill, as in the language, but we just don't have a dollar value yet. I mean, and just to remind, our ask is pretty much to be compensated for the loss of the feeder bus funds. And that's kind of our ask. The feeder bus funds are going away, and we're looking for a different revenue funding source for those going forward. So a couple of other small updates. Myself, Director Hanson, and Dr. Parsons did meet with Chanel Scales-Preston yesterday, our officers, so it was good to kind of connect with our supervisor who oversees that part of our county. I think we had a good conversation. I think there's more conversation to be had just as going forward, but it was my first time meeting her properly, so I think it was good just to get that introduction and that conversation started. We are changing or introducing a new schedule, which will go into effect on August 9th. The main reason is because the BART schedule is changing. I think they change on the Monday, I believe. So we're changing our schedule to better align our services with the BART system. We've also spent a little bit of time looking at connections with AC transit routes, and also in Martinez. I mean, we don't have anything solid in place yet. It's a work in progress, but we are starting to look at those and trying to make those connections better for all of our residents. So there's no real change in operating hours, no real changes in service other than just pretty much tweaking when all our departure and arrival times are throughout the system. And then the final one is, this is just a placeholder for, we'll be talking about this more as we go forward, but September will be the 20th anniversary of when we started our link service into San Francisco. So I think we're looking for some ways to acknowledge that. I think, Mika's working on some ideas of, incentives, and we're looking to find some of our riders who've been riding the system for the entire time, so we can kind of get some stories and some interaction with that. So work in progress, but it is something that we'll be kind of, making sure the board are aware of, and kind of making sure we're able to celebrate a fantastic achievement of having 20 years of this service. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. Director Parsons?
Just a comment. Thank you so much, meeting with Tom and myself and the county supervisor for our area. It was, for me, it was incredible, and it was nice to have her see what WestCat is doing and our facilities and our buses, because, you know, and our system, because it's unique. You know, 724 ride. I don't know how I forgot that it's the whole service area. When you said that, I was kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I might be messing that up. I always thought it was just Rodeo and Crockett because of the hills. But, you know, if whoever's watching this, you're not stuck where you are, especially if you have a mobility or you're a senior. Like, you can get from many places within our service area, even outside of our service area. You just have to call the number and find out what's available for you. 724 ride.
Nice plug. Any additional questions or comments? None? Okay. Do we have a WCC?
Yeah, we do.
report? Okay.
All right, the last meeting was on the 27th of June, and a couple interesting items. One was for the Measure J20B fund allocation, and that's for paratransit, so we'll be receiving some dollars from that, so that's a good thing that that was approved. And then one of the other items was, had to do with the Bay Bridge Forward, that's looking at trying to help with the HOV lanes, maybe reworking some of the HOV lanes, some of the on-ramps too, restriping them. A couple other strategies to try to help flow of traffic. But one of the things that'll really affect us is they're gonna do a bus on shoulder feasibility study, so that's gonna be interesting. They're actually looking at possibly trying to use the shoulder of 80 from the bridge to bridge and seeing if that'll work. And there's some challenges, but on the Bay Bridge side, there's actually some possibilities. I don't know if maybe our general manager might like to comment on that.
Sure, if that's okay. Yeah, so I mean, we've been heavily involved in the work that MTC have been doing towards this study, and you know, they've looked at a lot of things that came out of the WCTAC's West County express bus studies, you know, a lot of that, and some of them just aren't really feasible to move forward right now. But I think some of the challenges with bus on shoulder are obviously there's restrictions on when you can actually operate that and how you can operate it based on weight, lane width, and you know how the shoulder is actually created. So there are definitely a lot of challenges, and I think there's a couple of areas that have real possibility for our service. One is between Willow Avenue and Richmond Parkway. There is a potential ability to do that. The challenges with that is obviously when the shoulder is crossing over the on-ramp and the off-ramp. So there's ways that mitigate that, but that's one of the big challenges. I think the most promising one is, as Director Hansen alluded to, near the Bay Bridge. And coming off the Bay Bridge, coming back towards Hercules and Pinole, there's a potential for using the left-hand shoulder to access the HOV lane, so giving us essentially a longer lead into the HOV lane. I think as that's an area that we struggle with, it's an area that we often don't use I-80 at that particular section. We often use West Grand, so, and then because the flow of traffic's better. But I think if this could, you know, go into effect, it could be a really important time-saving change for the links. So there's other areas they're looking at, but they're the ones that seem the most feasible and viable for us currently. You know, one of the big challenges with bus on shoulder is there's certain areas where you can do it, but it then means that if there's a break in that, you then have to kind of either merge back over into the regular flow lanes all the way across to the HOV lane. So there's, you know, so I think there was some conversations where, you know, MTC were looking at it and going, this is a good idea, and ourselves and AC Transit are going, yes, but here's the kind of problems with that. So I think what they're moving forward with are all good projects, and you know, as I say, we've been involved in the work putting those together.
And then one other item also was the dynamic on-demand microtransit service. Via Transportation did a presentation, and Richmond Moves is one of their clients, so they kind of gave a presentation on the different services they have. And maybe Rob also wants to, since it's a new shiny thing, kind of give his point of view on how successful.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a program that has rolled out successfully and unsuccessfully in various communities throughout the country. I mean, I think, you Tri-Delta have a really fantastically successful called Try My Ride, and they utilize some of the VIA technology and software. Say Richmond's have a couple of vans that VIA run as their program, and it's obviously dependent on each individual community, but there's certainly a cost element and there's a cost per ride element that really need to be kind of taken into account when you look into these, as Director Hans said, these bright new shiny things that have a lot of technology behind them and a lot of potential. But it is something we are looking at through our COA, the Comprehensive Operation Analysis. I think our initial look is it seems difficult to know where it might work within our service area currently, but it is something we're continuing to look at. And I think myself and our planner Finn have had conversations with VIA and other agencies, other companies like that over the years, and it's not. We're continuing those conversations, but there's nothing on the immediate horizon that we'd look to kind of implement that type of service.
And that's my report.
Okay. Are there any questions? No? Okay. All right, great. Any correspondence? No. Okay. Any board communications or future board meetings items?
I just have another thank you to the staff. I rode the buses the other day, but I also rode the bus or was involved with some transportation about a month or two ago, and addressed a concern to our staff, and that concern got taken care of, and that was super awesome. So for our ridership, and so for those that are involved, know what that is. Thank you so much, and really do appreciate everyone's work. And now we just have to figure out how our buses stay safe through Hercules and Panola bus stops with the trees.
Yes, thank you. I have a question about a future agenda item, and I can always speak with the general manager offline, but I wondered if you could talk us through at a future agenda, after we get our budget stuff taken care of with the Senate and everything, how we add routes or how we look at routes. And then I know there's lots of challenges in where the funding comes from. There are a lot of residents in my town that are trying to get to ferry service. We'd love to build one, and if you want to do that, that's fine, we'll take it. But if not, if there's a way to go backwards, like to Vallejo. I know there's challenges, but I wondered if they could put together maybe a paragraph or something in the future that might explain why that would or would not be possible. So we just understand as a board. And it could be any time in the next 6 months, just
Well,
have that conversation.
Yeah, I think some of that's going to be involved in the comprehensive operation analysis. So some of that discussion will kind of happen with the board over the next couple of months as part of that process.
Okay.
So they are all being looked at, and there will be, here's the pros and cons to those kind of things. So we should be able to have that conversation.
No, outstanding then, thank you. Thank you.
Any other items for future agenda items or board communication? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to item 6, which is adjournment.
No.
Does anyone wish to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.